There are a lot of Ohio State fans that are currently discussing whether or not Ohio State should start weaponizing NIL and being very aggressive like some of these other programs are doing. The Dijon Johnson decommitment, the Travis Brooks decommitment last year or earlier this year, National Signing Day. But the question is, and I really want to get into this, should Ohio State join the dark side, so to speak, and start doing what Florida is doing what Oregon is doing what Texas A&M is doing, and really weaponizing NIL and paying these kids? With Alabama, it's weird. You know, Alabama had always, in terms of NIL, seemed rather clean. Now, again, this is just NIL. I know Nick Saban owned a car dealership and he gave kids a bunch of cars and things like that. But in the day and age of NIL, when this stuff started getting weaponized, it seemed like Alabama was clean. Saban got into a massive feud with Jimbo about it in the summer, earlier this summer. And, you know, we end up seeing the Richard Young thing, and it makes us really question whether or not Alabama is 100% clean. Maybe they are. I mean, apparently Richard Young was silently committed to Alabama. But the issue now with NIL, we've opened such a Pandora's box where these programs can cheat and cheat and cheat, and there is no punishment coming because too many programs have cheated. If you're going to start enforcing the rules now and retroactively going back, the only real thing you can do is punish the school that started all of this and really went off the rails, and that's Texas A&M. But schools like Miami can blatantly abuse NIL, you know, offer kids contracts, just to, already have an NIL deal in place using the collectives, and then they say, oh, it's by the books, we get around it. People were trying to explain to me how they did it. I think it's ridiculous. Either way, you're cheating. You're giving players money to come to your school. That's not allowed. But the reality of the situation is it does not matter. If Ohio State started doing this, there is no punishment for it. The only issue becomes, and this is something Ryan Day and reportedly Nick Saban had major concerns about, if you start giving kids millions of dollars before they step on campus, how does that affect the locker room? And I think that is one of the major issues Texas A&M is going to have. And I've heard people say there's going to be a ton of transfers, things like that. Guys, at the end of the day, Texas A&M really doesn't care if there's a ton of transfers if they're signing 18 top 100 players. They signed 18 top 100 players. They could have 5 of them transfer out and they'll still be happy because they still have 13 left. They signed 8 5-stars last year. They don't care about transfers. It's still a net positive. Paying kids for them is still a net positive because there's so much benefit in doing it. And now you're seeing Miami do it. You're seeing, how about Billy Napier? Do you guys remember Billy Napier's quote earlier this year when he said, we don't do that? It's just, why are these SEC coaches such blatant serial liars? First, it was Jimbo Fisher. I've never seen anyone lie like Jimbo Fisher has. With the whole thing with Nick Saban, him saying they never paid anyone. You're basically insulting every single person that follows college football. You're insulting all of our intelligence. For Jimbo Fisher to come out and saying we didn't pay a single player. And then Billy Napier, kind of a weird thing where he comes out earlier this year and says, we don't do that. And then, of course, they get Dijon Johnson, and you see kind of the rumors going on with Florida. They're blatantly paying kids. I don't think there's any question about it. And Miami, obviously, they don't deny it. Louisville, their situation with, the 2 skill position players, and the list goes on and on. Oregon is another one. So the main problem, Ohio State could start so-called cheating and completely get away with it because these schools know the NCAA is not going to punish everyone. The most likely scenario, if you are Ohio State and you're these schools that are really doing it by the book, which is basically every Big Ten school, the 2 schools I would say would potentially be weaponizing NIL in the Big Ten. Michigan State is for sure. And then the other one may be Maryland. Although it really doesn't matter because Maryland doesn't get that good recruits anyways. I don't know if Maryland's doing it. It just seems like they're the program that would do it. So those are really the only two in the Big Ten. When you compare that to the SEC, most of the programs in the SEC are doing it. You've got several issues with the Big 12, Texas, mainly. I haven't heard much about Oklahoma doing it. And apparently USC fans are getting angry because they don't have good enough collectives. That's what they were saying because Malachi Nelson was visiting Texas A&M. I'd love to see the deal he gets offered by A&M. But overall, guys, it is an interesting discussion. Should Ohio State shift and start paying these players? I think the biggest question becomes, at what point do we get this under control? Right? Because right now it seems like it's a never-ending saga. The 2022 class gets ruined by NIL. The 2023 class is being ruined by NIL. If I went through the top 100 prospects, I would probably say with confidence 50% of them are getting some type of NIL deal. So to me, that's basically a cycle that's ruined, in my opinion. And it's like, listen, you can cheat and you're not going to get punished. They will not. The NCAA will not investigate all of this. They're just not going to do it. The only thing I think the NCAA might try and do is find something on A&M because they really went off the rails and they were the first team to do it. But like Miami, I mean, could you imagine if another program outside of Texas A&M got nailed for NIL and A&M doesn't get any punishment? Do you know how ridiculous? If there is a program that's getting punishment for NIL booster, blatant cheating, NIL weaponization, it is Texas A&M. And then they try and get around the rules and say, oh, we're just paying the player to go to any school in the state of Texas. It's not specifically Texas A&M. That's what they do with these states and all their laws, how they get around it. The issue is we're actually trying to protect the kids, and the kids are making their decisions based off of a $1 million contract, a $2 million contract. It's completely ruining their future. I think it's going to be very sad what happens to a lot of these kids at Texas A&M when they receive subpar development. And a lot of them, it's not going to matter because they're so talented. They'll still be first or second round picks just because they're athletic freaks. But overall, guys, this is not a healthy college ecosystem. If anyone tells you it is, they're lying. If anyone, this is one of the funniest things I hear when it comes to NIL. The people, if you're in an argument with someone, probably an SEC fan about NIL, and they say, this is how it always was, now it's just public. The person that says that has no clue what they're talking about. Listen, did players get paid in the past? Yes. It was an iota of what it currently is. If NIL didn't exist, there is 0% chance Travis Hunter goes to Jackson State. 0 with no NIL. 0. But then people say, oh, it's the exact same thing. Now it's just public. It's not even close. A player getting a $9 million, a 4-star QB getting a $9 million. Yeah, that happened 5 years ago. The number one overall recruit in the entire nation, Rashawn Gary, he got an offer from Clemson of $250,000. We're getting 4-star QBs that are getting $9 million now. But no, it was just as bad because they're trying to minimize it. It's the same thing Texas A&M fans try and do. It is disgusting. And guys, we've got horrible rumors coming out about potential decommits for Ohio State. It's been nice to see. A lot of the recruits are on Twitter. They're trying to calm everyone down, things like that. But the Ty Lockwood situation, I'll quickly talk about that. I don't think it would be a big loss for Ohio State. That's not to say, I don't want Ty Lockwood to decommit or flip to Alabama. I don't want that. But they already have a tight end, Thurman, although there's rumors. Guys, there's been rumors about basically every Ohio State commit outside of the state possibly decommitting. I've heard Noah Rogers rumors. I've heard Carnell Tate rumors. I've heard Brandon Inniss rumors. Tate and Inniss to Miami. That's a joke. But those guys came out on Twitter and they said it's ridiculous. Noah Rogers, there could be a little bit of a question with NC State. But, we're hearing constant rumors about these kids possibly. Mark Fletcher, we've heard the rumors about him. Basically, any out-of-state kid. Even Thurman, there's been rumors. The other tight end. So it is completely out of control. And Ryan Day has a question. If you're Ryan Day, you have to sit there and say if everyone starts, because this is the other thing I wanted to talk about and the point that I wanted to make. Ohio State is the only Big Ten team that can recruit like the SEC. All these other Big Ten teams, they don't have to worry about it. We have to worry about at least fielding a roster that's comparable talent-wise to the SEC teams. And Ohio State, really starting in 2017 with Urban, we started to recruit like the top teams in the SEC. We were averaging 94 per commit, 94.7 or whatever it was. That's elite recruiting. We were landing classes over 300 points every single year. That is elite recruiting. The problem is we'll always have the number one class in the Big Ten. That's whatever. It comes down to, does Ryan Day say enough is enough? If the decommitments start piling up, we are going to have to start utilizing NIL to, unfortunately, get recruits. I don't think that's going to happen. I still don't think it's going to happen, but it comes a point where if you suffer so many decommitments, there's almost a breaking point. And again, this is just a direct response to the SEC. Ohio State could be completely clean and sign the number one class in the Big Ten every year for the next decade. Not a problem. This is specifically Ohio State being the only northern school that recruits on Georgia's level, or maybe slightly below Georgia's level. One of the main reasons Georgia recruits better than Ohio State in the past few years is because their in-state talent is ridiculous. But they're right there with Georgia. They're right below Alabama. The only reason A&M's above them is because they blatantly cheat. But the question becomes, do you start falling behind these SEC programs, and then you face them in the playoff, and they're just so much more deeper. They've got so much more talent. Last year's class for Ohio State was underwhelming. This year's class, it looked like it was on a great trajectory, and we've kind of completely crashed into the side of a mountain here. Let's be honest about it. There's, if they could get Damon Wilson or Mateo Uilangile, I think that's huge. It's major. You get an elite pass rusher, but right now, Ryan Day and that staff you've got a lot of questions where you can continue to do what you're doing and sign the number one class in the Big Ten whenever you want. You've got Dylan Raiola, the number one player in the nation, already committed. You're going to get skill position players. You're going to get top guys there. The offensive tackle recruiting has been really bad. The running back recruiting the last 2 years has been not good. And then also the other position, I would say maybe even the pass rushers, especially last year. Maybe they land an elite one this year, hopefully. But those are the three main positions, and you're seeing Alabama signing 2 5-star running backs this year. I guess we really can't compare it to Alabama. Alabama's just on a different level than everyone else in terms of the way they recruit. So it's tough to do that. The real problem becomes when a team like A&M starts blatantly cheating and they get more talent than Ohio State because they're blatantly cheating. And the NCAA is not going to do anything about it. That's where we run into an issue. And same thing with other teams in the SEC. So it is a real thing. This is the same type of conversation that came up right when National Signing Day happened earlier this year when Terrence Brooks was stolen by Texas for $50,000. That was an unfortunate situation, and it's like, do we have to start forking over some money for recruits? Obviously, Columbus, the infrastructure, it's a big city. The NIL opportunities on campus are impressive, but these kids want NIL opportunities before they get on campus. They want to be paid because they're a 5-star. That's why that's how it works. You guys see, the recruiting rankings are becoming more and more important because if you're a 5-star linebacker from the state of Texas or from the state of Florida, these schools are going to offer you money just like that, and there's no repercussions. So that's the major problem, and it's actually really limiting Ohio State in terms of their overall potential to get some of these prospects from Texas, from Florida, kids that 5 years ago Urban Meyer would be in the middle of possibly landing or at least being the kids' top 5. Ohio State has literal no chance at this point with a lot of these. We're seeing a completely different board at this point for Ohio State. It's a lot more closer to home, a lot more in-state players, and the class in 2024 should be really talented. You've got Bryce West, you've got Aaron Scott, the 2 great cornerbacks.
So that is something to look forward to, hopefully landing those two guys and really starting off that class. They've already got the superstar quarterback, of course. But guys, it is an interesting question. I don't think Ohio State is going to start doing it. The people that say everyone does it, you have no clue what you're talking about. If you actually wanted to try and debate me, it would be really bad. If you want to give me one deal or one shady recruitment that Ohio State has been involved in, cite your source. And tell me how Ohio State blatantly cheats when they lose Dijon Johnson to Florida, when they lose Terrence Brooks to Texas, these schools that are lower in terms of development than Ohio State. But no, come and tell me how Ohio State cheats. And then they say, like, ooh, Carnell Tate. Guys, Carnell Tate was offered 7 figures from Tennessee. He turned him down because he wants to go to Ohio State for development. That is the situation. If you have a mysterious deal that you want to pull out that Carnell Tate got from Ohio State, I'd love to see it, but it doesn't exist. So you're in denial because your team cheats blatantly. I get these comments daily, and these people are just delusional, man. They're more delusional. Well, no, I was going to say they're more delusional than Jimbo Fisher. That's impossible. That is impossible. Jimbo Fisher coming out earlier this summer. We never paid a single player. That's what Jimbo... How about Billy Napier coming out and being... What is with SEC coaches being serial liars? It's disgusting. It really is. So, guys, it's something to wonder. What does Ohio State do? It looks like the class is going to mainly stay together, but there is an issue with Ty Lockwood, the solid 4-star tight end, and Alabama possibly trying to change his recruitment around there a little bit. They offered him, and it is turning into an issue, right? We'll see if he stays. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on it. It's whatever. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger.